Hello everybody, I'm Glitch from GameFreak97. I'm not dead. Yeah, I'm back. I'm here and I've been playing a lot of Dungeons & Dragons because I am a gigantic nerd. And yeah, I've been wanting to do a little thing about like campaign diary type things, but I thought you might need some before stuff about a certain campaign I'm doing, because it's all homebrew. Yeah. It's an adventure in my created world called Terius, and it's a adventure type stuff that I've been coming up with and I've been writing about, and it's awesome. And actually, I have a map here of the place. So yeah, it's a cool little thing. So yeah, got all the important bits of everything. Got like forests and mountains and ocean and desert and all that type of thing. But the homebrew rules don't stop at the campaign setting or adventures themselves. They also kind of go into like the characters I've been talking to my players and everything about. And we've gone like 4 or 5 sessions, so we're doing pretty good. I started them all off at a decent level. They didn't start off at level 1. They all started at like 3. So they're doing decently, and they're getting some challenge already. They were all new players to start with, and I kind of gave them a little rundown of what the game is. And the first session is basically just a how to play type thing, and it was a fun time. But in our group of adventurers, we have a gray-skinned tiefling blood hunter, a water jinsai sorceress, and a wood elf eldritch archer, because I did say we were doing homebrew rules, so eldritch archer is a cool little homebrew thing that I was trying to mess around with. And I might kind of go through what that entails on how the spells and stuff work later. But for now, we're going to run through the first little session that we did. They started off in a tavern, in a town called Dover, the Ephemeris Inn and Tavern. You can change whatever you want. You can take this adventure and mess around with it and use it however you want, whatever parts of it you want to steal. They started off with the tiefling blood hunter sitting inside of this tavern and waiting for his comrades, who he had talked to previously about going on adventures because they are definitely stronger together than they are apart. And then the elf eldritch archer, I keep forgetting the word for eldritch, walks in, followed by the water jinsai sorceress. And they decide they're going to sit down and have something to eat and discuss what they're going to be doing and what adventures they're going to go on and how they're going to make money and all this, when a blacksmith of the town bursts through the doors and says that his daughter was kidnapped. And this works differently for different players, because the first people I tried to do this exact setting with got drunk in the tavern and waited till the next morning to go after the blacksmith's daughter who was kidnapped by monsters. So they ended up going through and doing this adventure, and they came across several monsters like Kenku, goblins, Skaven, who are all working together for some reason. Then they went on, and now, if you don't know, Skaven are rat men, Kenku are the crow people. If you watch Critical Role and you're caught up with Season 2, you know what a Kenku is. And goblins, because everybody knows what a goblin is. I did a little rundown of what each of these monsters was in the campaign, but anyways, they got to a tomb that had a lot of goblin and other monster activity in it. And they had to go through, and they found a few small things of treasure, and on their way in, they had killed some goblins and stuff. And they found a Skaven that they intimidated into joining their team. Well, they had two. One they had on their side, and the other was kind of weary of them. And they got into where there was a trap room. And the character that was a tiefling blood hunter decided, I'm gonna push this rat guy onto this pressure plate and see what happens. When a axe trap swung through, and I rolled very high and very good on that axe trap, and it decapitated the Skaven. Yeah. So, they decided, oh, this is a dangerous trap, but we sprung it, so it's safe. We can go on now. And they went on. And when they got into a bigger room, kind of like a... If you watched the Matthew Colville's little thing on his running an adventure, the first one where they actually go through an adventure, this is kind of ripped off from him. And for this first session. So... And I've ran it a couple times, and I've tweaked a few things, and I really like it, because it kind of teaches basics of how to play the game, and what to expect. But the way I do it is I put some bigger monsters in there, kind of like when they're fighting the first little mini-boss thing. It is a hobgoblin sorcerer who has a few spells and a little bit higher HP and armor class than a normal hobgoblin. So he's a little bit more of a challenge. No, he doesn't have higher armor class. He has lower armor class, but a little bit more HP. And he's just... yeah, he has spells and stuff. He doesn't hit with a weapon. But when they were fighting him and the other things, and the Skaven and stuff in there, they had the little girl in a cage that they were using to cut up part, like... This sounds awful, but they were using a dagger, cutting, wiping with the rag, and then going to a door and using it for a blood offering. And, that sounds nasty, it sounds awful, that sounds terrible, but they were monsters, so it makes sense. And... so they almost killed this sorcerer hobgoblin before he drank a potion and disappeared from the room, and they were able to just kind of push the door open. He had kind of gotten most of the ceremony over, so they could just... done. So they walked back into the last room. They had the Skaven, which was terrified of them, take and watch the girl outside of the cave. Which could be a good idea, could be a bad idea, but I let them do it. And they walked into a room with a bunch of skeletons. And they killed the skeletons, and they're like, okay, there's a big sarcophagus in the middle, and there's a little treasure chest in the back room, which they were leery of because of earlier parts of the campaign, which I forgot to tell you about. But the earlier little cave that they went in, that they walked in, didn't have anything in the first room, walked through, found some halflings who were terrified to go outside. Because of a monster that was supposedly in the first room, they walked back out and saw a treasure chest that wasn't there before, and they fought a mimic. So, yeah, they were leery of the treasure chest in the last room of the tomb. So they went through and they had to fight a thing that I like to call a Grim Skeleton Knight. Sometime I'm going to go through and, tell you the stats and stuff of some of these monsters that I have homebrew kind of created. And, so you guys can actually use them if you want. If you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, which, why not? Because it's a great game, and you should be playing it. But anyways, back to that. They were yelling at it, and they ended up, hey, we can actually do things that kind of how we want, right? And I was like, yes, you can. Which, when a player decides that they can actually use items in creative ways, it's wonderful. Because the DM loves it. Because they're like, yay, they're getting it. They're actually going to play the game. And so they started throwing vials of oil at this big, huge thing, this grim skeleton knight. Well, they were told to go in and get a item from this thing before also. So they had the girl, they had the item, they had monsters attacking them, so they had good reasons to go in here. They also had the treasure chests and stuff. And, I'm already past 10 minutes, or almost to 11 minutes, but who cares? This is going to be a little bit longer. And, where was I? They ended up killing it, taking its item, which was the Staff of Six, which is a item that I'm in my homebrew world, if I can speak, was used by an ancient late king who was the big thing that they had just fought, and it was used to kind of kill gods in the past. It's 600 years since he had lived, and caused gigantic wars across the Terrius territories, which is where we're playing, which is my homebrew world. So he had killed gods in order to use their power to end war. His power didn't work for that purpose, and ended up killing him and driving him mad. And the power released itself and found new hosts to create 12 new gods. I will be going through the 12 gods in another video and everything in my homebrew world, so you can possibly use them if you want. Some of them are very similar to other gods in the D&D universe, and others are very similar to other gods in actual universe, like mythology and belief systems and religions and stuff. So, yes, I steal a lot from everything. Matthew Colville, Matthew Mercer, belief systems and mythology, all of that. But anyways, they kill this thing, get its treasure, which is just some gold and a few things, and some items, and they're able to leave, but they still have the little girl and the Skaven. On their way back, they find a couple of wagons, which was their random encounter. It wasn't a combat encounter, it wasn't supposed to be, but they found a couple of wagons, like two wagons of a family moving, and they ended up stealing a wagon and a horse, moving the people's stuff into the other wagon and everything so they could still have their stuff, but they stole a wagon and a horse, had all their stuff in it, and drove back to town. They got back to town to the blacksmith saw the Skaven, was about to kill him with the big sledgehammer thing, threw it, when the tiefling blood hunter jumped in the way and grabbed it, and hit the ground and took some fall damage, and saved the Skaven, when the Skaven ran away, but turned around, and kind of just acknowledged that they had saved him, and kept going. So, he may show up later in the campaign. I haven't decided how or why or when yet, but he might. So yeah, that's basically campaign 1. That's basically the session 1 of my big campaign. It was fun. They actually played the game a little bit. They learned a lot of stuff. They liked the game because they were first-time players. They actually really enjoyed it, which I kind of threw in a whole bunch of homebrew rules and homebrew stuff like monsters and the world, and I made up some new rules for some of their character traits and everything, so they also now are very powerful because they have spell tattoos and some interesting items, and they're not really powerful, but they're decent for where they're at. So I think that's everything. I can show you the map again, or where they have been going around, because they have been around Dover and the Jintheim and that area. So there you go. They've been in that area, and now they're going. At this point, they're in Ohem, which is a Null tribe, And they've almost gotten to where they're able to go to Ta'a, which is another Null tribe, but they're at war and not good things. And yeah, so no big spoilers unless you're planning on playing in this game. If you are, I hope you didn't watch this. If you're planning on running it or kind of throwing things together for your own version of it, or because I didn't really explain it that well, I hope you can take this and use it in your own campaigns or sessions or whatever. And I'll be going through characters and explaining kind of their character sheets and what's going on with their stuff in another video probably. So yeah, this is my first video that I've done in a couple months maybe. So I'm kind of getting back into the hang of filming and posting, and I'm not going to be doing much editing for a while, but yeah, this is good. This is good. I'm back. I'm not dead. More videos are coming. Soon. Yes, soon. I know I said that in the last video, but I kind of left for longer than expected. And, I'm back. So, without further ado, bye. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to be awesome.